Welcome to 701 Civics on Radio Access 102.5, broadcasting the heartbeat of Bismarck, Mandan. All right, joining us today on 701 Civics is Kathleen Tweeten, the president of the League of Women Voters of North Dakota. Again, Kathy, thank you so much for taking time. Been wanting to visit for quite some time, so I'm glad we were finally able to connect. And I'm just wondering if just to begin with, if you can just give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. First, I want to thank you, Brian, for inviting me. It's the League of Women Voters is very dear to my heart. So, getting an opportunity to visit with you is really very, very nice. I'm a emerita of the Department of Agribusiness and Applied Economics from NDSU Extension. I'm an extension specialist. I've worked with many, many boards and councils and committees in the past, and so the league is something that I've always enjoyed, and look forward to talking to you about it.
All right. Well, let's just look a little bit at the background of it. What kind of history can you give us about the League of Women Voters here in North Dakota?
Well, in North Dakota, we started back in April of 1920, so that makes us 106 years old. We started after the national started, and really, the purpose was to help 20 million women take on the responsibility to vote. And it was the same thing in North Dakota. This was new for them. The 19th Amendment had just passed. And so understanding how to vote was important to the league.
Yeah. Were there any early key figures that really kind of helped lay that foundation, or even some figures later on who kind of worked with and maybe established the league to grow a little bit?
Well, it was not until 1950 that it really took off statewide. There was a lady by the name of Catherine Rogney from Kindred, North Dakota. She traveled around the state starting league chapters. And then it wasn't until the 60s and 70s that there really was a growing effort in establishing leagues because of the Equal Rights Amendment.
Mm-hmm. As far as helping those women early on, after that amendment was passed, again, a little over 100 years ago, what role did the league play in that regards?
Our role is and has been education. It's really helping women to understand what that responsibility was. Now it's not just women, it's everyone. We feel that it's the voters' right to vote and to understand what they're voting for, who they're voting for, as not party, but what is it that person what is their profile? How do they stand on different issues that might be important to you?
Sure. And would you say that's kind of the primary mission today of the League of Women Voters?
It
Still?
really, it really is. It's all about voting rights. It's about defending democracy, which voting is primary.
Yeah. So how does the league work to ensure those fair and accessible elections? Because we know in North Dakota, of course, we don't have to register.
Right.
So some might consider that a way to take down a barrier. But what are some other ways that the league is currently helping?
Education. We have a civics curriculum that just came out this spring. Whitney Oxendahl from Fargo is the primary author of that curriculum. It's for junior and senior high school students, but it's for anyone that wants to understand the legislative process. And of course, we also have the social media kinds of things like Facebook and website and other educational materials. Plus, we really watch and we track bills that might put up barriers to voters because anything that makes it more difficult, anything that makes it less accessible to people, especially rural people,
Mhm.
we watch very carefully and take action against.
Yeah, and the civics curriculum, which was released, I think, just a little over a month and a half or two ago,
Right.
it's online. It's available for free. It's a PDF, so anybody can use it. Um,
Exactly.
and you know, I've had the good pleasure of reviewing it myself, and it's very accessible for folks, very readable. The links, video clips, and so forth. So it's engaging. Schools can use it for free, and there's actually a guidebook for teachers as well.
There is. It's even on the library network, the Libby network. So it is very accessible to anyone that wants to look at it. And what Whitney has really done is to pull in all of those different resources that have anything to do with the process, the legislative process. It put it all in one place, which is what teachers were asking for and have been asking for a while.
Yeah, and in an election year, it should come in really handy. I'm excited to see the impact of that. I know Whitney is also working on some other branches of government, similar books. So excited to see those and hear when those come out. And I'll be sure to put in the show notes a link to that document as well as the website. Um, Historically, you know, the league is really known for being nonpartisan. Can you explain to voters really what that means and why that's important?
Well, it means that we do not endorse, we do not support, and we do not oppose any candidate for office. Um, we believe that voting is a right. It's nonpartisan. We are not going to say anything about who you vote for or what party you vote for. We're just interested in the fact that you know what you're voting for. And that's important because an educated voter will make decisions based on good information.
Hmm. So do you conduct any outreach to candidates or anything like that, just to find out what their opinions are on different items?
We do. In fact, we have a national website that connects to our state website, which has all of the information about the ballots and the polling places, so on and so forth. But the candidates themselves have the opportunity to answer several questions, several issue-based questions, so that they have a voice in telling people how they stand on different things. Um, we also do the candidate forms and have been doing those for many, many years. Um, which gives the candidates again another way to not only interact with the public but to share with the public what their stand is on different issues.
Sure. And voters again, I'll make sure to have that link. The public can access that on LWVND.org. So
Correct.
the League of Women Voters. So again, I'll have that in the show notes. Um, if we look back at what the league has accomplished in North Dakota, or nationally, whichever you'd like to address, what are some of the big accomplishments that the league has had?
I'm not sure that the league in by itself can take credit for a lot of things, right? But
Hmm.
we've been part of a lot of things that have gone very well. We do have observers, for example, at the elections, and those observers report back, and their reports go directly then from being summarized to the Secretary of State's office, where they can act on different issues if there are any. Um, we participate in a lot of the educational programs across the state. A brand new one actually is to work with people that have been convicted but are in the process getting out. And so, what are their rights? How do they vote? Our job really is education of the voters. And so, in any way that we can create a coalition, a partnership with any other entity, we're more than happy to do that as long as it's nonpartisan.
Sure. Um, so does that mean that the league would testify at anything, or is it just kind of taking that information at like a legislative testimony and then just summarizing that, or is any of
No,
the members out there speaking?
we are. In fact, we do testify. Nationally, the National League testifies on national issues. The State League testifies on state issues, and locally, our members not testify, but they work on local issues. And we do take positions on issues. We, again, it's nonpartisan, but we come out in opposition to, for example, HCR 3003, which raises the voter approval threshold. Um, that's going to be voted on here this coming year. Um,
Hmm.
all that does is it create another barrier for people's voice, right? Um, and then the other one that we've actually come out in opposition of is SCR 4007. That's the single subject power. What that does is give oversized power, especially to the Secretary of State. And again, it's just anything that threatens the voters' right to be involved, to be engaged, is something that we will come out against.
Hmm. Um, so how do you educate those voters out there on those issues, other than just being on a website or something? How do you try to make sure that it gets to as many people as possible?
Well, we do testify at those hearings, and all of that is on our website. If you go to League of Women Voters, LWV.ND, or not dot, ND.org, you will
Hmm.
find all of that testimony that we have given. We do have other social media webs other than the website. We have Facebook. And there's newsletters, and our organization is really all about grassroots advocacy and education. So our members out there, they're the ones that really spread the word on what's going on within the league.
Yeah. What one of the things? Correct me if I'm wrong. You've got information on how people can run for office as well. Correct?
We do. We have a program. It's just, yeah, how to run for office. So if people are interested in doing that, it's really excellent information on how you go about doing that. It tells you what the dates are that you have to submit information and what you need to submit and so on and so forth. It again, I have to give Whitney Oxendahl all the credit for a lot of what we've got available as far as resources. She has been just amazing. She's the kind of volunteer everybody wishes they had.
Yeah, I've had the good fortune of visiting with her and so forth. So certainly a passion for civics education. So that's great. Um, has How has the league kind of adapted? 2026. There's artificial intelligence. There's all kinds of social media. How d- how does the league adapt to misinformation that's out there, and really it kind of seems like a distrust in some sense of the electoral process?
We have had educational programs. We've had speakers on Zoom. We did a statewide program a couple years ago where everybody was worried about the voting machines and the ballots and so on and so forth. And so we had a statewide forum where we invited the Secretary of State's office, a local election worker, an auditor, just to answer the kinds of questions to so that if people had concerns, they could ask those questions. They did an excellent job of explaining how the election process works.
Yeah. What are you seeing as far as turnout from people when you do have that? Do you see a fair number of folks? I mean, we could always hope for more. Um,
Right, right. Actually, we had a very good turnout. We had it at the Heritage Center, and we had it also online, so people could join us through just their computers.
You're listening to 701 Civics on Radio Access 102.5, where local voices matter. If someone wants to get involved, do they have to join the state office? Are there local chapters? What's some manner that anybody can get involved with?
If you're 16 and over, anybody can join. If you could join, Brian. Sex doesn't matter. Um, the You join through the just go on the website and you can join if you have a local chapter. If you don't have a local chapter, you can join as an at-large member. When you join the League of Members, you are actually a member of the National League as well as the State League and the local league if you have a chapter.
Okay. Do you know how many local chapters there are in North Dakota by chance?
Well, actually, we're growing. We have chapters in Fargo Moorhead. We have a chapter in Grand Forks, Bismarck Mandan, and Minot. And we have one that's organizing right now in Williston. And we have groups, we call them at-large groups. They're not quite to the point of organizing a chapter, but we have people in Dickinson, or not Grand Forks, Jamestown, and Valley City.
Okay. Um, as far as volunteer opportunities for those folks, we've talked about Whitney. Um, what are some other opportunities that people who join say, I want to make a difference? What are some things that you're looking for?
Well, I already talked about being an observer at an
Mhm.
election. You can work with tabling. We table at many events, including colleges, where we just talk about the league and what's going on. And we also do programming with local assistant living places where we educate the residents about how to vote, how to do mail-in voting, or about the ballot, what is on the ballot, um, how to vote, essentially. There's also volunteers that do websites and newsletters and the social media part of it. We have fun people that do fundraising. So if you want to become involved in any shape or form in making voting more accessible, fair, or working for defending democracy, we have a job for you.
As the head of it, head of a large organization, what are your hopes for the next 5, 10, 20 years beyond even your time there? What do you hope the league is still doing or moves into?
Well, I certainly hope we continue to grow. It would be wonderful if every resident knew what the league was, and that funding was no challenge. But that's every organization, correct? But
Yeah.
I do think we'll continue to grow because I think there are more and more people that are thinking about democracy and how can they be part of the movement to defend it, to protect it. Um, and voting is essential for democracy. So any way they can become involved in the voting process, whether it's to even be poll workers. They don't have to be league members. They can still be involved with the league if they so wish.
Right. And I know the Secretary of State is always pushing out there that anyone 16 and above can be a poll worker in North Dakota.
Right. It's a very valuable, but also a great experience. I would encourage people to do that, and that is something the league also does is to encourage people to become poll workers and to become engaged in the election process.
Hmm. Well, let me ask you this too, as we kind of wrap up just a little bit here. Um, if there's one thing that you wanted North Dakotans to know about the League of Women Voters, what might that be? And maybe you have 10 things, but
Yeah, it's trying to narrow it down. Um, I guess just to understand and realize the role of the League of North Dakota, that we are nonpartisan. That is a challenge for us because a we do take a role in issues, and sometimes those issues may look like they're partisan, but they are not. Voting is not partisan.
mhm. Um, Once again, to find information, again, it's going to be lwvnd.org.
Correct.
This year is an election year. So there's primary elections, there's the election in the fall. So the website from the league is a great place to go to get information. And people can go on there. Schools can go on there. There's information. Um, is there any school groups or schools that kind of um, that you've seen accessing or reaching out? Because there are educational resources, just in case teachers, professors want to go on the website. And asking off the top of your head, that might be a tough one. Um,
It is to say
yeah.
specific because there's been a lot of teachers. There's a primary teacher, Jennifer, and I'm trying to think of her last name, Kallenbach, I believe,
Okay. Mhm.
is very involved, and she was instrumental in getting that civic education curriculum on the.
She's been working throughout the state, and we actually have visited with her. And so just a couple podcasts ago. But on the website, it talks about the North Dakota Civics Bee, talks about National Civic Learning Week, which is coming up next week nationally. So there's resources for folks there. So all kinds of resources online. Again, whether it's a school or a general citizen just looking for more information. So, so Kathy, I just want to thank you again today for taking time. I think it is a valuable resource. A lot of people, I think you're right, may not be aware that it's there, but it provides a lot of valuable information for North Dakota. I especially like the fact that it points out how to run for office because most people aren't aware of the deadlines that need to
Right,
happen. And so
right.
they want to run for office and all of a sudden it's too late and then they have to wait for the next cycle. So yeah, if anybody's interested, now's the time to look because we are fast approaching some of those deadlines.
Yes, we are.
All right. Kathy, thank you very much. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person one of these days.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much, Brian.